Let's spend a few minutes talking about configuring individual test environments and a web page application. WAMP allows the end user to configure Apache Web Server, MySQL database, and PHP on a Windows operating system. The aspect I'm more familiar with is the PHP component. PHP makes it possible to query a database in the backend and then relay this information to the client. To demonstrate how to install WAMP server, I created a test web page. Here my web page is about spending money wisely. I call it money and assets. Let's just say I want to add a neat feature to the website that allows users to display some information about their demographics. I have the date, I have the browser. I could use JavaScript like you see in the source code here on the right, the get element by ID, but let's just say later on I wanted to query a database, so I decided to use PHP. My PHP code is correct, but it looks like crazy nonsense in the web browser. That's because there's no PHP handler installed. This is where WAMP comes in. Open a web browser and navigate to sourceforge.net and download the latest version of the WAMP server. After the download is complete, run the application. If the Windows security dialog box appears, just click Yes. I'm going to choose English for my language. I'm going to accept the license agreement. Basically it just says that this software is open source, meaning it's free to modify and redistribute, and then it's a combined work, which is a work produced by combining or linking the application with a library. It's a GNU, GPL, or a general public license. So I'm going to click Next. Here we're given some prerequisites about installing WAMP, such as not installing over an existing version because you run the risk of losing your existing database. I'm going to click Next. This is the installation directory. For me, Windows is installed on the C drive, so I'm going to go and put WAMP there. It said in the prerequisites that you have to install WAMP in the root of a disk. That means I couldn't install it in, say, C/program file/WAMP64. Basically, wherever you install the program, it has to be the drive letter and then :/WAMP64. So I'm going to click Next. Now I'm given some software that I can install, the PHP, MySQL, and a few others. MySQL or MySQL is an open source database application, and PHP is a scripting language that allows you to query a database. I want the latest version of PHP. It's selected, but I can't disable it, so I'm going to leave things the way they are and click Next. This is to increase the visibility of WAMP within Windows, a shortcut. I'm going to click Next. Now I'm given a summary of what's going to be installed when I give it my consent. I would very much like to do that so that I can explain to you how to interpret PHP code on localhost, so I'm going to click Install. Once installed, the Apache Web Server will appear as an icon in the system tray. Its color will change from red to orange to green, where green indicates that the Apache Web Server is listening to incoming HTTP requests. Port 53, which operates DNS, translates domain names into IP addresses, and port 80, or the HTTP port, is used to retrieve and display HTML. HTTP is used by the Apache Web Server that is supplied by WAMP. I'm asked what web browser I want to use with WAMP. You can choose any web browser, Mozilla, Opera. I'm going to go and choose Google Chrome. It's located in the C drive under Program Files, Google. Now I'm asked what text editor that I want to use with WAMP. I like to use a rich text editor, so I'm going to choose Notepad++. It's also located in the C drive, but it's in Program Files x86. But again, that's just the default location where the program was installed. It could be different for you depending on your preferences of if you like to keep your software separated from the operating system or not. Now I'm given some information on where to find further instructions for use. Click Next. Splendid. Now that WAMP is installed, I can explain to you how to configure a local host on a WAMP server. The first thing you want to do is you want to run Notepad as an administrator, because we're going to be editing the host file, which is read-only, so you need administrative permissions to edit it. It's located in the C drive, Windows, System 32, drivers, etc., and then you just type in the name hosts. Alright, so in this file I'm showing that 127.0.0.1 is a loopback address. Basically what that means is that any packet of information that is destined for this IP address will actually be sent to the computer that initiated it. After a loopback address is an alias or a variable name. This is the name that I give my virtual host in the WAMP server, so it's important that this name will match up later with what I edit in the vhost.conf file. Again, I said if you have problems editing the host file, you run Notepad as administrator, or if you still have problems, you can create a text document, save it to your desktop, and then use File Explorer to trade it with the original host file. And then you don't need anything else, and go and save the file. The next thing I want to do is I want to run WAMP. Once WAMP is running, I want to edit the httpd.conf file. I want to search for a specific instruction that tells the computer to use virtual hosts in its configuration. So I'm going to search for httpd-vhosts. Alright, so this is the line of code. If it has a £sign in front of it, then it's a comment, meaning that the computer will not interpret or execute any code that follows that line, that follows the line with the £sign. So it's not, this line is not a comment, and that's what I want. You want it to be executable. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. The second thing I want to search for is I want to, in my particular situation, I'm using an HTML document, and WAMP is only searching for files with the .php extension when I am trying to execute the PHP. So I want to search for httpd-php. And in this line where I add the type to the application, you can see that it's got the .php extension. My file is .html, so I want to add that to this line of code. Then I want to save the document. And the next thing I want to do is edit the WAMP vhost file, and that's httpd-vhost.conf. Alright, so right here, this is where the loopback address, when it was given the variable name, is going to be significant. Under server name, I want to give it whatever name I gave it in the host file, and then I want to do the same thing for the server alias. Again, this is just kind of a variable name. It lets the computer know what the virtual host is called. For document root, this is where WAMP was installed, and then it is in the www folder, and that's normally like as far as you would need the root directory tree to go. But I like to put my files in a I like to put my web page files in a separate folder, because I like to keep JavaScript and Cascade style sheets separate. So I add the /HTML folder to my directory of where my PHP website will be. Alright, the next thing we need to change is we want the order to be allow, comma, deny, and we want to allow from all. Alright, and then we want to save this file. The final thing that I need to do is I need to put my actual web page files in the WAMP server folder that is facing the outside world, the www folder. I have it on my desktop, so I'm just going to drag that file into the www folder. The next thing I need to do, and the final thing, is just restart WAMP. Once WAMP is restarted, if you'll notice, the PHP code still looks crazy up here at the top. That's because this web page hasn't been refreshed. But if I go to WAMP and I try to view my virtual hosts, you will see now that the PHP code has indeed been interpreted by the WAMP server. Before, I didn't have today's date at the top, and it's giving me information about the web browser, whereas before it was just calling the server routine and not executing it. It also has the time now, where the time was in the date function and hadn't been interpreted. I like to think like these instructions are kind of like giving a man a fish. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Either way, I hope you found these instructions useful. Thank you for your interest.